and welcome to Living Title IX with Betsy. That's me. This week we are continuing our conversation about OCR and the Department of Education. So last week we talked a whole lot about what was happening, and we gave Celeste and I were together, which was awesome, and gave you some thoughts and insights, a little bit of giggles, because sometimes it's just really hard to know at this point. But we do have more information. Celeste and I spent all last week learning, getting updates, talking to colleagues, trying to figure out what's happening. And so I have a few things that I want to make sure that I highlight for you. The Department of Education has told us, we actually found it in a court case. I'm not sure where else it's announced, but we found it in a citation that the Department of Education has reassigned offices in OCR that were closed or all the employees terminated to separate offices. So let me re-explain that. If you had a case that was under monitorship or investigation by an office that closed, you now have a different office assigned to your matter. So let me go through the list, and I'm going to look away just a little bit as I'm having this conversation with you to make sure that I get it right. But Boston and New York offices have been moved to the DC office. So not necessarily all of the humans moved there, but the cases did. The open cases, the open investigations, and matters that would have previously been opened by those offices will now be opened by the Metro DC office. If you had a case in San Francisco, or if you're in the area that San Francisco used to cover, the matters are now handled in the Seattle office. Philadelphia, for that office in that area that was covered, it's now in the Atlanta office. Dallas has moved to Kansas City. All of those cases are cases that would go to that office. Chicago and Cleveland have both gone to Denver. We've actually seen a little bit more activity out of the Denver office, I would say, than I've seen out of others. So just a side note, putting it out there for you. The others may be there, but I just haven't heard about it nearly as much as I've heard about that Denver office being active. So passing all of that on to you, what does that mean for you, like in real life, IRL? It means that, one, things are slower. We are seeing people being ghosted. That has happened to a lot of individuals or school districts who are under monitorship. We are seeing less initiated complaints by individuals making their way through. At least currently, we haven't seen a whole lot of that, but we've seen a lot of directed investigation. So the Department of Education saying, hey, we're going to investigate this school because of something we've seen or we've heard or we believe. And that actually is a Denver case, a Denver Public Schools case, was the first directed investigation that we saw. We have now seen a significant number since that. Some of the cases where you had monitorships open, the schools have received nothing, and that's challenging, especially if you had deadlines. So a lot of schools had deadlines to get information to the department approve, and then they implement some trainings. Well, we are seeing that the department isn't necessarily responding in a lot of cases to those reach outs, and you may not know who to reach out to anymore because your person's no longer there. They're not allowed to respond to their email. So my advice there is just keep going. Try to stay with the monitorship as best that you can and what the agreement was. And if you had something that they needed to review, but you still have a deadline to get something out, I think you've got to push forward in the best way that makes sense after talking with your counsel. And then we are also seeing a lot of people trying to figure out like what's next. And I don't know, it's just, I'm like spacing a little bit because this is just so hard to explain and even fathom. But I think one really important piece that we are seeing or saw is that some of the really awesome OCR employees were sending out sporadic messages saying, hey, I'm not going to be able to respond to you anymore. I have no idea who is, but they were trying to take care of you when they were getting terminated. And we saw a whole lot of that happening. So thanks to those OCR individuals, we are definitely thinking about you and, want the best of success for you all as well. And then finally, I just want to highlight here that what we are seeing is transgender cases are becoming priority, or gender identity cases are becoming priority for the Department of Education and OCR. And so those things are getting fast-tracked, as well as some Title VI discrimination cases, especially religious discrimination cases. Those types of things are getting fast-tracked, kind of pushed in front of other matters. So we are seeing schools, federal funds being taken or frozen from higher ed institutions. We are seeing those directed investigations that I've already talked about. And generally, those are in these types of areas. So I think if you have one of those cases or one of those issues, you will see the department acting faster and perhaps getting your matter to the DOJ as well. So all of that to say, things are changing. At least we know what office is going to handle our matters, and it may actually require you to update your policies a little bit for individuals who might be making complaints about your institution or your district. So don't forget to think about that. And then finally, I just want you to know that this is hard. It's still hard. The conference that Celeste and I sat at last week was hard. It was very hard to listen to a lot of higher ed attorneys who are just really struggling to give good advice and know what advice to give because it's unprecedented. So we're here. We're going to keep updating you. Courtney has started Tuesday takeaways. So this week, it also provided the information that I've given here, plus a whole lot of other information. So check that out. You can get to it on LinkedIn. And we would love for you to subscribe to that newsletter and see it every week with us as we continue Takeaway Tuesdays and then Living Title IX on Thursdays. All right, before I wrap up, here is our mug. Don't forget, if you hashtag mugshot, we will send a mug to you so that you can be amazing on Living Title IX with our colleagues and our other individuals who have sent in their awesome mugshots like our one today. It is so fun to see people using these mugs, and as you will probably find out if you follow me at all on LinkedIn, I travel with mine almost all the time. All right, finally, make sure that you're laughing. Don't forget to laugh. Don't forget to support your team, take care of yourself, but support each other. And then finally, celebrate the small victories as always. So small victory for me, I am knocking out this Living Title IX at the very last minute this week. It is not like me to get it out this late or get it to our team to post to you this late, but you know what? It's happening, and that's a small victory, so I am celebrating. We are so proud of you. Have an awesome week. Bye.